Okay, so something a little bit different today. I'm taking a look at Insta360's new Link 2 Pro cameras. These are a set of web cameras which are designed to give high quality for conferencing and online tutorials and that sort of thing. They're an evolution of the previous Link 2 cameras. They don't replace them, but they do have some slightly improved features on them. For example, they have a larger 1/1.3 size sensor. They have dual native ISO as well, so they should be much lower noise in low light situations. There are also two microphones compared to the single microphone on the previous Link 2 camera, so hopefully the audio is better as well. With the Link 2 Pro, that's the version with the gimbal that can do tracking. You can also now limit where that tracking goes. So if there's an area of your environment or room that you don't want your viewers to see, you can prevent the camera from inadvertently revealing your wardrobe or whatever else you've got lying around. So I'm recording this review on the Link 2C Pro. I'm using its built-in microphone, so you can hear what that sounds like. I'm using the standard profile, and what that does is it does a mild suppression of background noise and focuses on picking up voice. So hopefully it's doing a good job. I'll find out a bit later when I look back at this as to how it sounds. Now, it's not going to be a substitute for using a dedicated professional microphone, and you can do that as well. You don't have to be reliant on this web camera's own microphone, but I wanted you to be able to hear what it sounded like, because a lot of people who are going to be using this camera are going to be using it in a lot of different environments. They might be using it in a cafe, and all sorts of places like that. Okay, so at the moment I'm simulating a noisy environment. I've got a cafe playing in the background, and this is with the standard setting on the microphone, so we'll see how that sounds. You might notice that the horizon is a little bit wonky. There is supposed to be a horizon adjustment on the camera, but for some reason it isn't allowing me to enable it to correct it. So that's something I need to find out what's happening there. But anyway, so this is the standard audio, and if I change that to wide, this is for, it says single and multi-person meetings or live streaming, captures and enhances all voices in front of the device and automatically suppresses environmental noise and voices coming from behind the webcam. So we'll see how that sounds. Now let's change it to focus. So this is the setting that is designed for noisy environments, such as my simulated cafe here. And we'll see how that sounds. Now you can also, if you want to, and you want to do all the sound editing for yourself and you want the best quality audio from the beginning, you can select original. So this is the original sounds. There's no noise reduction going on here at all, and this will enable me to get the highest quality audio recording and do all my adjustments in post myself. Okay, so interestingly, I've just listened back to the original sound setting that I just recorded, and for some reason it is still applying noise reduction. You should have been able to hear all that background sound that I have going on. I've got a cafe recording there, and it's playing pretty loudly, or was playing pretty loudly, so you should have been able to hear all of it. But for some reason it sounds to me like there is still some form of noise reduction going on. So whether that's a bug in the software that isn't disabling the noise reduction, I don't know. So I'm going to need to find out what's happening there, and I will update depending on what I find out. But yeah, that is a bit of an odd one, I think. Aesthetically, the new cameras, they look pretty much the same as the previous Link 2 cameras. The only distinguishing feature really is a gold surround around the lens, and will let you tell them apart. It's an f1.9 lens, so it's pretty fast. If you need privacy, both cameras have their own privacy modes as well, so you can rotate the gimbal version to face downwards, or you can slide a cover over the fixed camera's lens as well. Aside from the new features I mentioned, they also have features that were previously found on the standard models, such as a desk view mode, the portrait mode, the AI tracking, and all that stuff. One thing I really like about these cameras is the control you have over the image. At the moment, I'm using the natural bokeh setting, which defocuses the background in a natural way, and I've dialed that effect down a little bit to around 25%, so that it's not totally artificial looking. You can also control the sharpness of the camera, and again, I find it a little bit over sharp out of the box, so I've dialed that down to around 25% as well. The new cameras also feature a green screen mode, so as the name suggests, if you have a green screen behind you, you can key that out and replace it with your own background. Now, I'm recording this using Insta360's Link controller software, and that gives me full control over all the different settings, as well as the ability to record the camera like I am. You have full control over the resolution, so you can go from 1080p up to 4K mode, but you can also enable a low bandwidth mode, which allows you access to a 360p, I believe, resolution, which is pretty low. But if you're in a scenario where the internet is really slow, then that could come in pretty handy for you. One thing I have found is that when I'm using effects like the natural bokeh mode, you might notice that there's a little bit of jerkiness sometimes in the image, and this happened with the previous cameras and previous versions of the software. I'm hoping that Insta360 can find out what's causing this. I'm not really running anything else simultaneously, so I don't know why that is, whether it's a limitation of my laptop processing. I don't know. I'm using an M1 Max right now. So the autofocus on the camera seems pretty responsive, so you could show things close up to the camera, like the Ace Pro 2, if I can get that. There you go. It's focused pretty quickly on there. And overall, I found the image quality when it's set up quite pleasing. I noticed that the auto white balance isn't turned on when I first loaded the software. Things are looking a little bit too red. You can manually set the white balance, obviously, but the auto white balance does seem to be doing a nice job of things. You've got exposure compensation, and you've also got HDR as well, which can help in those really super contrasty bright situations, which I don't really have today. Now, with the fixed camera, the non-gimbal camera that I'm using at the moment, I can use gesture control, and what I've got it set to at the moment is auto framing. So if I hold my palm, there you go, it's now gone into auto framing mode. So if I move my head to the side, you see it will digitally reframe the image, and I can turn that off again. But it does retain the zoom level that it had when it was doing the tracking. So if I want to go back to my original framing, I do need to go back in and manually set that back again. So, you know, that's one thing to look out for. I don't know if it's particularly important. I do find the motion, the digital tracking motion, a little bit artificial looking. It would be nice if it did some sort of easing in and out of the movement, so it looks a little less robotic. I can set the camera to do smart tracking, and you can get it to track your head area or your torso or your upper body. So, but if I set this to head tracking, you'll notice it's zoomed in automatically. So it wants to keep my head in shot. And then if I move back here, you'll see that it zooms into me, and it will try and keep my head within the back tracking bounds that I've set. And it will try and keep my head framed in a decent way. Now, I found that you can't move too fast with things. You can adjust the tracking speed, and you can make it track faster or slower. But you can lose it quite easily. So if I get up very quickly, oh dear. So it will regain it when I come back into shot. So it is quite clever at, relocking onto me. But you do have to be a bit careful about how fast you move, because it can lose you, and what you think is a normal speed to be moving around at, the camera might not be so good at following you. Mounting the camera is pretty easy because it has a magnetic base that the camera attaches to, and then that just hangs onto your laptop screen. But it also has a screw thread at the bottom as well, so you can attach it to any standard tripod plate if that's what you wanted to do. The dual native ISO, I find, does seem to perform very well. Even in low light, it does seem to perform well with minimal noise, and I'll just show you that now. So this is pretty dingy light. It's very dark and grey outside. If I was to use my GoPro in the same light, it would not be doing a good job. And this is the type of scenario that a lot of webcam users might find themselves in. So it's good to see that it can handle these less than ideal circumstances. So to summarize, that's my quick review of the Insta360 Link 2 Pro cameras. These are very simple and easy to use devices. One of the only limitations that I find with it is the occasional stuttering that you get when you use some of the effects like the natural bokeh. If I turn that off, you can see you still get some defocusing of the background. I've got the bokeh setting set to a subtle setting at the moment, 25%, but it does do a nice sort of isolation, and you do have other effects as well, such as replacing it with a house or office, cafe, but those effects do sometimes come at that cost of a little bit of stutteriness, and I just hope that Insta360 can get to the bottom of it, because they do look, particularly this effect does look pretty nice, and kind of sets it apart from just your normal web camera or some of that over-the-top horrible defocusing that you sometimes get with software like Microsoft Teams and that sort of thing. But overall, I am quite impressed with the image quality from this camera and how it performs. So if you are doing a lot of web conferencing and you do want to have a bit more of a professional look and a camera that can work in a wider set of circumstances than the one that's built into your laptop, then yeah, I would recommend taking a look at the Insta360 Link 2 and Link 2 Pro series of cameras. There are other models available from different manufacturers. I haven't had any experience of those myself, so I can't comment on how they compare to the Insta360 models, but yeah, I'm pretty impressed with these for web cameras, and yeah, you can see for yourselves and hear for yourselves what they look and sound like. But yeah, that's me done for now. It's only a quick review, but yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. And as always, if you do like my content, then please do like and subscribe and hit that notification icon. And I'll see you in the next video.